and welcome to Record of East Blue. This is episode number 4. I'm Josh.
I'm Astrid.
I'm Reid D Monkey.
Reid D Monkey? Monkey D Reid?
I'm Monkey D Reid. That's my new name. I'm wearing a straw hat.
That's appropriate because this is a One Piece podcast. If you are just joining us, which I don't know why you would be joining us for the first time this episode, but we already covered the Syrup Village arc, and we are now in the Baratie Arc. We just saw Sanji feed Jin, starving member of the Krieg pirates, and that's where we leave off. So how are we feeling about this arc as a whole? I kind of want to go over some overarching themes, and then I want to zoom in on the plot stuff, just general impressions. How are you feeling about this?
Up on cartooning, down on One Piece as a project. This is my honest. Something happened in this one. It's not like it's not operating at a good level. I think it's just maybe it's a too much One Piece where I'm like, I don't know. You guys got to get it together. You gotta, I don't know. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. Maybe it's also too many other things going on, and the spirit of whimsy is not resounding as much this time around. I don't know. I felt a little more checked out this time, to be honest.
I loved this one.
Yeah.
I thought that it this is what I wanted from the setup that we talked about last episode with this floating restaurant, all these different factions and pirates and reverse pirates and cooks and everybody sort of gathering in this one place. I feel like it really, really brings out the best of the One Piece energy. There's a few things that Oda does in this arc that I think are just, it's what you want. It's what I wanted to see from Syrup Village. It's not dissimilar to Syrup Village, really. In terms of we have a set of characters whose motivations are I don't know, outside of the main trio quartet, and there's a lot of battling happening, but he nailed it, I think. Yeah. And for these reasons, I am in.
I was somewhere in the middle. When I first experienced this, which is to say I watched it. This is my first time reading the manga, which again, I think is better here for a lot of this early stuff. I don't remember any of the shit that happened in this arc. I legit forgot that Krieg fights against Luffy. I forgot that this was a thing. I forgot about Pearl. I forgot about Jin. I forgot that Jin fights against Sanji, spoiler alert. But because I was just like Reid, I was kind of checked out, I think. I'm enjoying it a lot more because the manga's detail is just so much more in depth. But I think where I was at the time was, I was there's 1,000 more episodes of this, right? What's he gonna do differently soon that's gonna get me to really be all in on this? And at least to the point where I still wasn't passionate about the show. I was enjoying it. I thought it was really creative. It had a lot of interesting things going on, but I wasn't hooked. There was no real emotional hook for me. Even the Chochu stuff in the Orange Town arc, I thought that was cute, but I wasn't. Maybe this is a difference between the anime and the manga, or the emotional impact and maybe it hitting differently, but I thought that was cute. I thought it was emotionally resonant, but I just wasn't really super into it at the time. And so I think the same thing kind of here with Baratie, although looking at this now, there's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of noticing and enjoying about it. I do think that just straight up, and I imagine we can all agree that it is a bit of a return to form over Syrup Village. There's just so much more happening. Clearly, Oda's doing some interesting things. But at the same time, I do feel there's a little bit of meandering. It doesn't feel thematically it doesn't feel like it has a real thematic core, like we've talked about. Mm-hmm. The way that the Buggy arc kind of resonated around this concept of treasure that they just kept on repeating. I have some in here that I want to talk about, and we'll get to those, but I think it's just not as clear as it tends to be from kind of here on out, I'll say. And what I'm kind of reading as I'm looking at this now, and I think this is like a good way of framing our conversation as we go forward, is this arc is being almost like a what it means to be a man arc. And a lot of the theming here feels to me like a sausage fest type deal, because Nami leaves and then it just, the energy is very like dudes doing dude stuff. And I think it sets up a really interesting kind of framing for the whole arc. And it breaks at the end in a really interesting way. And a satisfying way, more so than we saw from like Usopp and like the what it means to be like a real person and like to, you know, have faith in yourself and confidence and to live your life truthfully. I think it works way better here with this like framing of what it means to be a man, quote, and then like kind of breaking that down toward the end. These are kind of themes that really relate to Sanji as well. Let's start talking about the plot with kind of that in mind, maybe, at least as my concept. Y'all can feel free to kind of, you know, see that as a valid way of framing this or not.
I will just say, Josh, that I think like the way you put it of being like, it's kind of like, oh, we're doing this again. This kind of thing is probably the thing of why I didn't connect with this so much. Because this is like, it's very well done. It's like this is a self-contained thing. I think the cartooning is so good. Just the art is really strong, and how it like executes what it's trying to do is really good. It was just I think a matter of like, it kind of feels like, well, okay, we're doing this little kind of like self-contained little arc again. You can kind of see the dimensions of it as it starts, and I think that was probably kind of what just made it feel less, I don't know, made it like connect less for me.
I think I've also like set up this expectation of like this kind of plot arc is going to happen over and over and over again, right? And we can already tell that this follows a pretty similar structure every arc, where like Luffy goes to place, Luffy beats the shit out of a guy, whatever. And it's like, how are we going to sustain this over 1,000 episodes? And that's kind of like, you're looking at the mountain that's before you and saying like, what is like, what's going to justify me doing this, you know, 100 more times? And I think that's where I am with this Baratie, even though it does feel like it's really doing a good job of honing in on this formula. I think right now Oda is doing that primarily stylistically, and the work isn't being done so much around the emotional kind of core of it. I think we saw that happen in the Orange Village arc, and we've kind of strayed from that in the last couple. Although this one, again, does have some great moments. I think the moment that we saw at the end of the last volume with Jin eating the food, still to me like one of the coolest moments in the series, and just such a great moment for Sanji. And we'll discuss that more, but maybe let's get into what happens after Jin returns to Krieg and tells him about the Baratie.
So you want me to skip Luffy becoming part of the kitchen brigade, as if this is not a great bit, but okay.
What? No one talked about this. I thought he already was at the beginning of this. I guess he's just like, he's working in the kitchen, right?
So this volume picks up right after Jin eats the food, and then Luffy, to pay off his debt, says that I'll be the chore boy, and there's a lot of great drawings of him fucking in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I work in a kitchen, so I think I was like totally on board with all the jokes about like breaking the dishes, or everyone screaming at each other, or eating the food off customers' plates, or cleaning the really hot wok. I loved all that stuff. And okay, then Jin is like, I'll take you to the restaurant, to Don Krieg, who is his boss. And of course, Krieg is German for war. So this guy's scary. That's the implication. There's also, like you said, Josh, this doesn't come up too much because Nami exits very quickly, but Sanji is womanizing her while she's sat down for a meal. And it's only a couple panels, but it was he's supposed to be like a cool guy, obviously, so I guess that goes hand in hand. So there's something that happens with Sanji here. Sorry to stray from the plot, and this is something that we've seen a few times, is like the struggle between like what somebody wants to do and what everyone, like, there's like this propriety thing. Like Sanji Sanji wants to cook here forever, so everyone has to like be mean to him. But then toward the end of the arc, like they're being mean to him so that he'll leave. It's like this sort of like, I don't know, there's like these dynamics where they can't just say what they mean. So like Sanji has to pretend like he doesn't want to go. It's like all these, we'll get to it later, but it's just, we've seen that before basically with people's motivations, people's treasure and stuff like that. So
even like the dynamics of people's relationships, right? Like all the chefs have to be like hard to each other.
Right.
And part of it is because it's like a self-defense mechanism where they work on this boat, and I think a lot of it too is in like the customer service relationship with your customers too, where it's like you have to be nice to these people, but they can also take advantage of you because the expectation out of your relationship is that you're the one serving them. But you know, they also have to have a hard side where if they do feel like they're being taken advantage of, they can push back and actually protect themselves because they're in the middle of the ocean, they're isolated, it's almost like it's a service industry. I have like a lot of friends who are nurses, and it's like a similar dynamic where you just have to like put up with what these people give you because you're saving their lives. You have a very important role and somebody has to do this. And yet these people are treating you like shit, and you have to like respond in a way that is appropriate, but that also allows you to kind of protect yourself. And a lot of what it feels like is in this arc, that kind of dynamic playing out in a lot of interpersonal ways too, that extends beyond just like the customer and the server dynamic to the way these people have to interact with each other, right? Like Sanji and Zeff they're fighting all the time. Everyone thinks they hate each other, but they have like a very clearly like a father-son dynamic going on. And even Sanji, I want to talk about his kind of womanizing here for a second, because this is like really big, especially in the anime. I noticed like it has a few panels in here, but it's not like a core of his character at this point.
No.
It's not like he is like a pervert in the same sense that we would see out of a lot of these dudes in anime, kind of like adjacent to this. He's just like, he admires women, it seems. Like,
he's
I don't know
gentlemanly, actually.
Yeah, it is like gentlemanly, but I also don't know, like, does Sanji actually like Nami like that? Would he actually enjoy being with Nami, or is he just demonstrating again this kind of like chivalry, at least the way he conceives of chivalry in his eyes?
Yeah. There is a moment much later in these chapters that we'll get to that I thought was the first like legitimate like flirting or like romantic friction in the manga. So we'll talk about that when it hits. But what do we think of Don Krieg? He shows up here in a bad way, which is an interesting wrinkle, I guess.
Yeah, sorry. I was like going back to look at what it was. I was looking at Sanji like reciting a monologue to to talk it, like put a pin in it too, but there's also I think an element of performance, right? Of like being a grown-up, being a certain type of guy. But yeah, Don Krieg shows up. You can tell this guy's full of shit, you know. you don't look like Don Krieg and show up and say I'll pay you anything for your food. You know, it's just I'm not buying it. Yeah, Don Krieg is pretty good, you know. He's the kind of guy you want. He's like this big, like, I don't know, he's like, it looks like an ogre, giant sideburns. He looks like an 80s like villain.
Leopard print button up, huge chain around his neck, white pants, and a big sort of like captain's overcoat thingy, like fur coat. But he shows up and he says, "I'm hungry, please, just, we don't have any food. Give me some leftover rice and I'll just go." But then once they give him the food, of course, he says, "Nice restaurant, I'll take it." Good setup there. And then we also see his ship is all fucked up and he has 100 guys left from, is it like 50,000 or something? They say that he has 5,000, sorry. So he has no armada. He just has a fucked up ship, a bunch of guys who are starving and weak. So he attempts to scuttle everybody and take over the restaurant. And then Sanji is like, listen, I don't judge people. I just cook for them. I keep my side of the street. I just do my job. So he's gonna give him the food.
Yeah, and much like in a real food service environment, his managers are not pleased with him.
Right.
Wanting to help a fellow human being. They're not okay with that. Yeah, so that's like the thing, right? Like, gets reinforced here that Sanji's like, for some reason, he has really learned the lesson that starving is miserable, and he's not going to let these guys starve. But yeah, so it kind of invites in this Krieg guy. We get some good stuff. What's his name? Patty, the Popeye arms guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
He, yeah. When they're like, they all pull their pieces out at Sanji, and he's like, I gotta feed this guy. And so they decide to be like, just Patty's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of him. He brings out, we see like some of the first signs of like the weaponry that the cooks are working with. He has he offers Krieg an iron dessert, and he says he's gonna fire his indigestion meatball cannon at him. And does it, and it's kind of like, sets up the thing that now there's gonna be a fight. And I think the thing that, like, I'll give this stuff, it's like pretty simple, like serial TV writing of like your B plots and your C plots to like keep things moving along. But Oda is very good at being like, here's the main thrust of what's happening. Now we're gonna kind of find these ways to like introduce these little threads that are gonna go throughout it to keep like a sense of momentum going and to keep it more varied.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Josh, about like this kind of thing of like the repeating fights and everything, like this kind of structure, or like, and for both of you too, like, is that kind of thing work for you in general? Like the very kind of like shonen thing of now it's time for the multi-chapter fight to happen.
I think at this point in the story, it still had not justified itself to me in One Piece. And by this point, I still didn't get it. But again, like, I think after this, something clicks for Oda and he kind of changes the way things are doing. Or maybe it's also possible that he just sees a lot of this stuff as set up and is just kind of setting up expectations in how One Piece is going to be moving forward. But I think structurally, like, it works. I think it's like satisfying as far as like just being a format in general. But I just think it's missing like that emotional core here still. To me, like, a lot of what's happening here feels like it's setting up a world and kind of introducing characters and experimenting with ways to do that, and sometimes like stumbling upon some kind of emotional ways to make it resonate. And like, I think we saw it at the end of the Syrup Village with Usopp's goodbye to his crew. We saw it with Choo Choo. We saw it with Zoro and the Kuina flashback. We see it here in a few more ways too, but it's not like the core of what's happening here. It's not like the motive for why we're at Baratie, right? Like, they came to Baratie just to find a chef. Like, there's no other motivation, like, they're just kind of stumbling around, and we don't have any real like emotional investment in this place or like why we're here. There's no real goal to it. And I think that's why, like, at this point, even in the story, like, it's not really working for me, at least the first time I saw this. I think, like, when I look back to it at this in context, like, I'm getting more out of it because of that. But like, the first time I saw this, I was not... It just wasn't really hitting for me. At least not in a way that I was like, I'm going to watch 1,000 episodes of this,
Yeah. Where it's kind of like at this point too, like if we weren't doing this podcast, I'd probably be like, yeah, I'll pick this up again and just sort of pick away at it here and there as I feel like it, because I like the cartooning. I like the characters, like the way they look on a page, but it's, I don't know.
I mean, I'm trying to approach this without the weight of the 1,000 episodes and like 20 years of chapters on top of every subsequent chapter that I read. Like, if I was reading this in 1999 or whatever, it wouldn't be like that. It would just be like a new shonen manga that seem to be going somewhere cool. And I do like serialized, like formula storytelling, and seeing how that gets, it gives you the things you expect, and then the things that get twisted or riffed on or whatever are like, I don't know, there's a real pleasure in that. But that said, the fight stuff in these chapters, in these volumes, generally I liked. The fight stuff in Syrup Village I thought was kind of tedious. So it really is about just like, how is it working in the context of the plot at hand, or the movement of things at hand. I don't know. And the sort of like setup here where Krieg reveals that he's covered in like silver armor, and that there's this sort of like he wants the One Piece, and then Luffy is like, no, I'm going to be king of the pirates. And of course, because it's Luffy, everyone's like, what are you stupid? Like, look at this guy. But then there's, I don't know, we get this hint about this guy with hawk eyes. And so like immediately Krieg is like one up. There's like, oh, there's like this scarier guy out there who's like fucked up his whole armada and like solo the whole fleet. And so there's almost like Oda doesn't want us to think that this guy is like the ultimate threat. And I think that's kind of an easy way to make the plot feel bigger. Like on the one hand, it could like diminish what we do get with this guy, but also it does set up an expectation that like immediately there's another guy who's even more of a badass, which I think that's a good trick. I think it pays off with this sort of cameo appearance of Mihawk.
Yeah, and that's am I remembering this wrong? No, I don't think so. Zoro's like, that's like his guy, right? That's like, for some reason he needs to go fight that guy.
Yeah, because Mihawk is the greatest swordsman in the world, and Zoro wants to be the world's greatest swordsman. So he's like, if I beat this guy right now, I just fucking win. I'm the best swordsman in the world, and my goal is achieved. And so yeah. Regarding the fight stuff, I want to go back because I didn't fully address the fight question. In general, the fights are like the part I care about in One Piece, like the least. To me, it's more like the setup and the aftermath of the fights. But I do think there are times when Oda is able to like fold the fights in really well with what's happening around them. I think like this Mihawk one is one example of like, it's like a kind of short little vignette fight almost that's just like demonstrating something about Zoro's character, and it's like a really quick thing. I think like this kind of thing is where the fights are at their best, when Oda uses them to like illuminate something about the characters, and he does do that very well. So that is how I feel about the fights in general, but also like just reading pages and pages of like, this dude punches another guy, and like even seeing that in the anime, I'm just like, I don't really care about it that much, honestly. I care a lot more about the setups.
I was gonna ask, because I think both of you definitely have more like genre fluency than me, but in like a shonen, is it an aberration, or is there anything kind of like noteworthy how Oda approaches these kind of like an arc? So like an arc is around like, you kind of know Krieg and Luffy have to throw down here, or and kind of the way it's threaded in with the amount of dialogue as well, the amount of stuff that isn't the actual fighting. Like my reference point is limited in that, like, I used to read this kind of stuff, right? But the stuff that like sticks in my head was like Dragon Ball Z, which is, you're not getting much character work. It's guys just fighting, right? And that's the main thing, is like, you're going to get 20 pages of them just whooping each other's asses and powering up and stuff. And I don't know how kind of unique Oda is in kind of like the formal approach, right? Like threading in the character beats like so much into the fight, like breaking the fight up in that way. Like, is that unusual or noteworthy in any sense, or is that like lots of other people have done that pretty well as well, if that makes sense?
I think shonen wise, like the cutting back, like I think that's a big part of the format, is cutting back to like character development moments. I think of like the montages of like Speed Racer and stuff like that, where it's like remembering these big quotes from the past and that made you who you are in the middle of like the big sequence, right? Like even like it's like the shonen ecstasy moment is what I call it. I think stuff like battle shonen, like battle manga, like Dragon Ball Z is going to have that a bit less because it cares more about the fighting in general. But I wouldn't say that Oda is doing it like a lot differently. I just think he does more work around the characters, in my opinion. Like that's like what sets him apart, is that he just sets up more interesting characters and he cares more about them in general. And that's what makes them resonate for me.
Yeah, I think that's sort of like shonen ecstasy is a good term. There's a bit in Chainsaw Man where there's like some backstory with Aki, whose house gets like exploded when he's a kid, and it comes back later, and like those kind of like character moments that come during action, I do think that's like the high level. That's like what you look for, I think. I don't think everybody does it well. I think it can be very corny and sort of rote. But if you do hit it, I think it's really good. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I also think that like in a lot of those other anime, in a lot of other like shonen in general, typically the device is used to elevate the impact of the fight.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like in One Piece, it's kind of the opposite, where the fight is used to kind of like put the philosophy into practice of these characters, or like shed light on it a little bit more. It's almost like in service of these characters and their traits, because it's not like Luffy like has a flashback and it's like, that's what makes this punch so sick, because he was thinking about his childhood and all this adversity he faced. It's like the opposite of that, where it's like this punch tells us that Luffy is the kind of person who does this, you know, and it's not like other shonen don't do that, but I think Oda is primarily concerned with combat and fighting as a way of putting characters' philosophies into practice and or showing us who they are.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's a hard thing to like. I'm a dabbler, right? So it's like hard to kind of think of like which aspects of this are unique to how he's approaching the story, and how much is him repeating or like playing with convention. It is interesting though, like the thing of like it seems like you have a little bit less of like the punch being like, remember when you killed my friend, like and now I'm punching her.
Yeah.
Which, like Dragon Ball Z again does that, the great thing of like, I'm so pissed off, my hair's getting bleached. But like, this is more like, hey, why, like, later in this or something, like, why won't just stay down? Like, stop fighting. And it's like, no, you have to think about where this guy came from and why he's doing what he's doing. Right.
Yeah.
There's some great pictures here too. I don't know. We covered a lot of ground this time, so it's hard to center or to like pull out enough things. But when the food comes back to Krieg's crew, there's some great ship drawings finally too. It's funny that it's like the pirate comic, right? But I feel like this is where we finally are getting some like real ships showing up.
Yeah.
But all Krieg's crew are like gorging themselves, and then they all start like howling. It's awesome. It's so good.
Yeah.
And they're all like, they're like punks. Like they all have like different punk styles, like from like a 70s movie.
Yeah. I did like right after that when Krieg is like, okay, we've all had our food, so we can go back to the Grand Line. And everyone's like, wait, what are you talking about? And then he just shoots a guy who's like balking at his suggestion. He's like, all right, are we all on board now? There's a lot of goons who get dispatched to like make a point, which is always funny. There is at the end of one of these chapters, Oda confirms that he has, I think, 4 assistants at this point in the manga. So I think that definitely is starting to show in just the backgrounds. Like there's page 87 in volume 6 where everyone is facing the door of the ship. There's the drawing of the bar sort of like the centerpiece of the bar on the left. It's just like very, very simple, but very like architectural and sort of clean. That definitely is like like we were talking about how the early chapters, there's a lot of like negative space, white space around people, and he's not necessarily placing every shot in like a physical location, which he's still not doing because that would be exhausting to look at. But there are a lot more sort of perspective ship drawings. There's the ship getting what was going on here, cut into like 3 pieces. There's a spread. He definitely was starting to amp up the production.
Yeah, I definitely noticed in this like this group of chapters that we read that a lot like the art, there's like a confidence in, it's like the Disney faces that he's doing too. He has a lot of just really wild stuff in here, and there's like something that's like some things are like clicking together. It's like it's weird to say because it was already like you look at the early chapters and it felt very confident already, but it's like you have these new influences kind of coming in, and it's like more 3-dimensional in a sense, not in the literal sense. It's just like there's like new dimensions appearing in the art in this stuff, and it looks awesome.
Yeah, it's really enabling him to do some crazy stuff. The one cook, the head cook Chef Zeff, with the really tall hat. There's a lot of good panels where the hat is like sort of clearly influencing like the angle of the panel.
Yeah, and the hat goes crazy in it too. Like there are panels too where his hat is like, it's like a smokestack. It's really good.
Yeah.
Gotta try to find a way to fit it, the whole thing, in one panel.
Yeah.
You can't. It's too much hat.
So just plot level, Nami steals she steals Luffy's ship. Is that right?
Yeah.
She takes the Going Merry.
Yeah, she takes the treasure. She boots those 2 guys.
Classic trick.
Yeah, she's like, I want to change. And they're like, of course we won't look.
And she kicks him over.
Sister Nami is as brazen as she looks. And then she tosses him overboard. She says, my job, or they're like, what are you doing? She's like, my job, dummies, I rob pirates. I never swore allegiance to Luffy. It was a temporary partnership. So she takes all the treasure and she leaves. And then Luffy is undeterred. He says, Nami's going to be our navigator and nobody else.
Yeah.
But then Mihawk shows up.
It's like Astrid when you emptied the Bullet Points bank account and Ed and Yusuf were like, we should fire her.
You're like, no.
And I was like, no, she's our navigator.
Yeah. We'll tank the $1,500. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. No, she stole 26 American dollars from us. Yeah, Mihawk shows up. Mihawk he looks great.
This guy's cool. Yeah.
He's unlike anyone we've seen to this point.
He's got the in and outside paisley coat, the like 2-tone around the collar and then the sleeves, and he's got big old Mickey Mouse boots strapped to his feet, and he has like a Zorro hat and some like spiky facial hair. It's not like a super busy design, but you can definitely tell that, as we will learn later, he's like one of the 7 big guys on the Grand Line.
Yeah. He cuts an imposing silhouette. He's the one, right, who slashed through the boat.
Yeah, he has this like ultimate sword. It looks like it's from like Trinity Blood or Trigun or like Hellsing. It's like a huge black cross. Very cool.
Yeah, this guy's legit. And one guy gets mad and unloads on him dual muskets, and he just swats him away with his sword. It's good.
I was just gonna say he's got a great quote. He says, without subtlety a sword is but an iron bar.
Yep.
So he's got his philosophy of fighting all laid out. And then we get, just for any readers who are really afraid that Nami had gone evil, she's on the boat, like crying and being like, I hope we meet again. And then she says, I can't wait to be free, Belle Mare. So she's done this for some reason that we will discover at some point. But she will not be guesting in the action that follows, clearly.
No, it's boys' time. It's boys' time all the time from now on for the remainder of this section. Yeah, so we get some stuff. I like that little bit with Nami, though, in terms of the things here that are like, there's going to be a bit more going on. Like, it's a good choice to, if they're going to send her away for this point in time, to like kind of give her a little intrigue.
Yes.
Give her a little extra. Because we're reminded here, too, that like this is what Zoro's about. You know, he's here to fight.
Yep.
He's here to get stabbed. And that's what happens, right?
In isolation, what did we think of this fight, the Mihawk-Zoro fight?
What do you think, Josh?
I still am like, why is Zoro doing this? I think it's just, I guess we already talked about how he has this feeling of like, if I die here, it was meant to be sort of thing. Like, if I can't win, then I just deserve to die. He also says a couple pages or a couple chapters ago, like, the day I decided to become the world's greatest swordsman, I gave myself up for dead. Nobody calls me a fool but me. I have my reasons. So that's probably foreshadowing to this fight, because this is foolish. Obviously, he knows Dracule Mihawk is way better than he is. He just cut a dude's ship in half, and then Zoro was just like glazing him. He's like, then you really are the best, I guess. But let's go, let's fight. And then like even Mihawk's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? And then his reason is, he says, it comes from ambition and a promise to a friend. So he's trying to show that he wants to be on his level, and he's going to take him on right now, and whatever happens, and let destiny kind of take its course, which is a fucking weird framing for a fight. Like, this stuff around Zoro is just nuts. Like, why is this happening? Like, this is crazy. He says, we meet at last, actually sooner than I thought. And then he obviously gets his ass beat. Mihawk doesn't even use his real sword. He uses a fucking
like a baby knife.
Yeah, like his necklace. It's his pendant, like his last resort weapon. And he just destroys Zoro after using his badass onigiri and his 3,000 worlds, and he just like absolutely destroys Zoro with basically zero effort, which is crazy because up until this point I feel like Zoro is like the fighter of the group, even like almost potentially more so than even Luffy at this point, where you're like, okay, Zoro has a reputation as being a fighter. We know he's a bad boy. He kills everyone or defeats everyone who comes in his way, and then Mihawk just like kind of smacks him instantly.
Yeah. I feel like it was like a necessary like heat check for the main crew to like encounter like a guy who's not only much stronger than any of them, but a guy who like they're eventually going to have to defeat to accomplish their goals. And I like the like just like total frenzy of like, there's a guy here who's better than me, so I'm just gonna like throw it all away and fight him.
Yeah, and this is the first. This is the first thing that happens when Nami leaves, mind you. Like literally, just zero rationale guy just fighting, and then there's like this Johnny and Yosaku try to save him, and Luffy's just like, don't interfere.
Yeah,
and then there's like a shot of him like with his hands on their heads, and he looks like he's gambling on horses. He's like, let him run. Let him do his thing.
His heart might explode, but he needs to.
Yeah,
and he does. He gets got, right. He gets stabbed right in the chest, as is his way. He loves getting stabbed.
Wounds on the back are a swordsman's shame, is what he says, and then Mihawk says magnificent and slashes him. But he doesn't kill him, even though he could.
Well, he respects
tosses
him, right?
overboard. Yeah, he of course respects his martial prowess and his, maybe more than that, like his headstrong nature. My name is Dracule Mihawk. It's too soon for you to die. Discover yourself, see the world, and grow strong, Zoro. So really, it was a teaching moment.
It's like his father figure after he just sliced his guts in half. Like,
strive to surpass me. It's very like fight manga, like but I like that shit. So
And
no, this works too. And when Zoro, he's been pulled out of the ocean, he's just covered in blood, and he sticks his sword up in the air.
Yeah,
and he's like, I'm never gonna lose again.
It's so hard. I also
and Luffy loves it.
I liked where does Mihawk says you did well to let him fight his own battle to the end. So it's like he's commending Luffy for not intervening, because it's like this was his choice. He's gonna play it out. And again, it is funny that as soon as Nami exits, there's like all this like code of honor, like the magic circle of combat shit that comes into the story.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah.
Like real just sweat and ball sacks.
Yeah.
Swinging
And
around
then
everywhere.
Mihawk, who came to kill Don Krieg, is kind of just like, he's sort of oh my god, what's his name from Sailor Moon? Tuxedo Mask. He's just kind of like, I've had my fill, so I'm just gonna dip.
Yeah.
Where of course he could just kill everybody in the manga immediately, but he doesn't.
Well, that wouldn't be fun, right? That's not enough. So so then it's like Zoro's kind of like out of the picture, right? He needs to go and I guess they slather him with
gotten like good
ointments. Yeah. They just stuff his intestines back in. And so now it's, Luffy's like, hey, listen, if I take out this Krieg guy, is that clear my debt? I don't have to keep smashing plates in your kitchen anymore.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, absolutely. That's good. And we get some great panels here where he kind of shows off how stretchy he is. And this excellent panels where the weapons from the Baratie come like clanking out one by one, and Luffy is very impressed, and his jaw drops down to like half a panel, and he's saying, look how cool this is. And the ship has a little like, it starts like turning into a mech thing, like this, all this stuff starts happening, and they start trying to like drive it away. They open the fins, which are like docks.
They have the fish head at the front of the restaurant as like a mobile weapons platform thing.
Yeah.
But they're paddling it like they're on like a riverboat.
It's really good. This is like more of that stuff where you're like, the Surf Village stuff didn't have, like these kind of things add so much when the setting for the fight is in itself just like fun to watch it do things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we get the fight, right? The fight's here. The two crews are kind of going at it.
Before we move on, I want to talk about power scaling to an extent here. Not in the sense of like actual power scaling, but it does feel like, I remember when I first watched this, I had this impression of like Oda setting up like levels to this shit,
Yeah.
And one thing I liked about it was that he wasn't like putting numbers on it, but he sets up this sense of like a hierarchy in the world of like how powerful people are. And the Mihawk fight to me was where it was like you kind of mentioned, Astrid, it feels like there's people up above, like we're putting the scale of how strong the Straw Hats currently are into focus. And it's to me, one of the big things is like Zoro got recognition from Mihawk, one of like the bad boys of the world, basically. So at the same time, you have this perspective of like, okay, Mihawk destroyed Don Krieg's ship in one fell swoop, and Don Krieg is the villain of this entire arc who, we're going to be fighting for the next few chapters. So that means that the Straw Hats, any kid reading this or any person reading this probably is like, developing this kind of mental image of their head, which I think is cool because you have, there's still a lot of blank space. Like you don't know exactly how powerful these people are in relation to one another. You just know that like there's a lot more world out there and a lot more like strength out there that our pirate crew still has like a lot of space to grow and develop, even though there's times where they feel like they can never be defeated. We know that like they can, and we know that they can get their asses kicked because there's stronger people out there.
It's even done like a little explicitly too when they're talking about the seas again. And they're like, you're in like the weakest.
Sea, yeah.
Yeah, you're in the like normal or easy zone right now. It's you're gonna eventually have to fight the lords of the sea, and each sea is gonna get more difficult.
What you're talking about, Josh? I like the Mihawk sort of like having him dip in and be like, there's like levels to this shit that you guys don't even know about. But it does, and there's a few other reasons, but it does make the Krieg fight a little bit superfluous for me. And I also, to this point in the manga, one of the things that's cool, or one of the rhythms that Oda relies on, is like, oh, this guy looks crazy strong, but actually Luffy can one-shot him, which is obviously probably not sustainable as a shonen premise unless your manga is One Punch Man. But like, I feel like this sort of like, even at this loose sort of level, like the power scaling had to come in at some point, but it was a risk to sort of get that ball rolling when he did, I think, because then it's like, oh, we have a volume and a half of fighting this guy who's like gonna bring out his own minions who aren't shit, and then it's like, I don't know, it's like, and there's this whole like conceit in the fight where like Luffy is trying to not fall in the water, and it all feels a little bit like
we got to nerf him again.
Small potatoes. Yeah, I don't know. There's like good stuff in there, and we're going to talk about it. But I was a little bit like, oh, we're getting our weekly chapters done for sure.
Yep.
Well, and I think that's why the Sanji and the Jin stuff and Zeff, all that stuff sticks out more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like, there was definitely the sense, too, of, like, when Luffy inevitably beats Krieg, you're kind of just like, yeah, okay, there we go.
I mean, yeah, even during that sequence, even Luffy knows, like, I just have to keep hitting this guy and his magic armor is going to explode. Like, it's built in, but first we have to get through Invincible Pearl from Krieg's pirate crew.
This fucking guy.
I didn't really understand his gimmick. I'll be honest.
He's looking at him right now.
Is he spinning plates, or like he has like bucklers on his knees and he's holding it? Just I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Like, he's got like a huge bank, like a safe, like a bank safe on his chest. That's like,
he's got a little head.
I guess armor. I don't know. I was not loving this guy.
He's definitely he's striking. You know, he's got something to him. He's he shows up and he's a clam,
right? Because he has a pearl on his head.
Pearl.
Okay.
There we go.
That was not clear to me.
They'll put our heads together.
Sanji does fight in this bit, so we get to see his like super kicks.
And
those
he
all look really cool. Yeah. He says a cook's hands are his life. I can't risk damaging them in battle. And then he says, I'll finish you with just my feet. Pause.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Invincible Pearl says, I've never lost a single drop of blood in battle. Okay.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't like that, right? When he bleeds.
Yeah,
freaks him out.
He's vain. He says, I'm handsome, so you know that he's in love with himself.
Yeah, I didn't find him too handsome. Until
very
he explained
quickly,
it.
He starts bleeding, and then he erupts into flames again. We can skip that.
Yeah,
we can keep.
That's what he does when he feels like he's in danger.
It's a defensive habit he developed as a child. Pearl grew up in the jungle with wild beasts. When he senses danger, he makes flames. So. Okay,
sure, but what he didn't count on is that a chef would never be able to be a chef if they were afraid of fire.
Exactly. Sanji has hot hands from handling the saute pans all the time, so he can kick him in the face.
I think the one thing here is that, like, when Sanji is introduced, you kind of think, like, well, what's this guy's thing when it's time to throw down, right? And his thing is, and it's like, I'm on board with him where I wasn't with Usopp because I like watching him kick, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing his suit and he's kicking and
he's a softie. He's a fucking softie. He got to root for him. Come on. He's so kind.
Yeah, he's compelling, I think. And his, obviously that black suit allows for like very good sort of like deformed, stretchy kicks. Just sort of lanky. So it looks great. We're already sold on him as like a guy. But then Chef Zeff intervenes to put down Pearl. Thank God. And that's the panel I was thinking of, is the top of 40. When it's from the top of his hat, we're looking down at him doing some kind of spin kick, which is awesome. But then Jin puts a gun to Chef Zeff's head. So we have a hostage situation.
He puts his sawed off on him.
Yeah.
It looks
and he
really
breaks
good.
He breaks his peg leg too.
Right, yeah.
It's fucked up.
So also we haven't been talking as much because they're not that important, but Oda has at this point really fallen into a rhythm with question and answer sections at the end of chapters, which I found myself looking forward to because he's a clown. He is a clown man, you know.
Yeah.
He's and it's a crapshoot if he's going to actually answer a question or not. So like there are questions like, how old is Sanji? He's 19. He's the same age as Zoro. But then it's also like, why does his eyebrow curl up? And he says, you know, the sun, the moon, the earth all spin in circles, blah blah blah. If the earth stopped spinning, the planet would be covered in tidal waves. It would be terrible. Now remember that Sanji's eyebrow channels that same powerful circular energy. Reflect upon this. You may go. I just like, to me, that's part of all of this as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these little things where you're getting an idea of what his deal is. He also says in this part too that this is where he says that now he has 4 assistants.
Yes.
And they stay at my house and help me for 3 days and 2 nights a week.
Yeah.
Sleeping over, it says in the translation I have.
Yeah. They have sleepovers and they have a great time together.
Yeah.
Which
I guess he would be working at home, but
I thought you would have a little office.
Little surprised. I guess I wasn't expecting that aspect. This
you
is
save money, you get your
home-brewed manga,
Yeah, this is small batch. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. And also the header images continue to be great. Like chapter 56, Sanji and Luffy Sanji's riding a yak, and the yak is just smoking a cigar. It's really good. And there's
Chapter
like mushroom
55
houses.
Had it's been following Buggy
the adventures of Buggy, I think,
this entire time. And chapter 15 is kind of like the main one, I think, where it's like Buggy's crew after the battle, part 15, oh Captain, you're in our hearts. And it looks like they have the bundle of his limbs and like a portrait of him on the wall.
Yeah, with like the funeral stuff around it, and they're all sobbing because
but
those
he's
are the
still out
limbs
there
that are not part of him. Yeah, but they don't know. They don't know.
He's linked up the actual Buggy. He's linked up with this mysterious woman.
Yeah,
and
is that part of the? I was wondering, like, do I need
she looked familiar
reaching these? The woman in the dress. I'm assuming she is a character in the manga at some point.
I believe it's Alvida, actually.
Okay.
The original pirate that we met at the beginning. She's had a little bit of she's had some work done.
Yeah, I'll say.
She's on the Ozempic. That's what happened.
I believe that's her, though.
Okay.
Strange. There's all sorts of things happen that, like, there's like then a fight for who gets to take over, and then like the lion man and the acrobat kind of guy are fighting, and then the lion starts dreaming about being a captain of a ship, and so he becomes the captain, and then he's a captain, and then we get some like really borderline kind of race stuff going on with some indigenous people of some island, and I don't even want to talk about what they look like. Yeah, but that's kind of like what's going on in the margins this whole time, you know?
Hard to tell whether that's canon or not. It might be.
God only knows. I will say I would love if those yaks showed up in some capacity again, because I like them a lot. Yeah.
They might.
But this is when we get to kind of the heart of all of this, right? Is Zeff being held hostage, and Zoro's still fighting, and they're kind of
Sanji knows.
Yeah, sorry.
Zoro is convalescing.
Right, yeah. He has his creams and ointments on. But Sanji is like, they're kind of like, why won't he stop? What's going on here? And he's like, the owner, this restaurant ship was his dream. It's his treasure.
Yeah.
And then we get flashback. It's time to see child Sanji.
Yeah. He gets really fucked up by Pearl.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He gets like dive bombed and stuff. And he's telling Jin, I'm not going to get off the ship, because that's what he wants. He's like, get off the ship and I won't kill Chef Zeff. And Sanji's like, well, point the gun at me. And then Pearl intervenes. And then we get the flashback after he's been beaten to a pulp, which is a good place for it, I think.
Yeah. As he's fading and out of consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see him as a little kid wearing his little kid chef whites, and he's talking to the guys, and they're talking about what's it called here? The legendary sea.
The all blue.
The all blue, where all the fish are. It'd be paradise if you were a cook, because you could just kill for days and make all sorts of delicious food. Sanji is like, eating leftovers is gross. Mm-hmm. The other chefs are like, it's good to be frugal. He's like, you're idiots, I'm 9. And then the ship is boarded.
Yep.
Want to go from here?
So Captain Zeff captain of the pirate cooks, Red Shoes Zeff. So he was already a chef, I guess, but like a pirate chef, like for real pirate chef. And then they take over the ship, and in all the scuffle, as they're trying to take all the stuff on the ship, there's a massive storm, and the boat sinks due to the storming and the havoc being wreaked by this combat that's happening on board. A lot of chaos. A lot of stuff happening in these panels, actually, in these flashbacks of people being robbed, being beat up, and then Zeff gets upset about some dude touching other people's food, and they at the end of the day, the boat sinks, and he gets stranded with Sanji on an island.
Yeah,
a little eggplant. He calls him the little eggplant.
Yeah,
and he's like,
I like this backstory stuff here. Like, the meat of it is that they're stranded together, and Zeff has what appears to be 2 bags of food. And so he gives one to Sanji, and then Sanji's like, wait, I want that bag. You got so much more. And he's like, well, I'm a bigger guy. I'm a grown man. So they both sit on one side of the rock. They wait, and at the end of the chapter, Zeff smashes his foot off with a giant rock. So it's clear that he's eating himself, and Sanji tries to ration his food. He tries to call out to his ship, but I think 70 or 80 days go by. Oh, wait, more
too
than
long.
that. Sorry, yeah.
Maybe.
He goes over and he sees that Zeff has eaten his food, and actually the bag was full of treasure. So he gave all the food to Sanji. And then there's a little bit of pirate ethos here. Where Zeff says that he lost his crew, but they were looking for the all blue and they didn't find it, but he believes in it. And so he says, when you get to that level, go for the Grand Line, the all blue is real. And if I get out of here, I'm going to make a floating restaurant, which he does, obviously.
Yeah, because that's how you stop this kind of thing also from happening.
Yeah.
The sea is too big and too cruel. I wonder how many men have died despising the vastness of the seas.
Yeah, because there wasn't a restaurant floating by.
That's,
But yeah, this is the debt that Sanji owes Zeff. He gave him the food, did know who he was, had no real reason to, prioritize himself, but have defend him with my life and pay my debt to the crap geezer. He likes saying crap in front of words. I wasn't loving that, but it's fine. It's kind of not.
I feel like
not
it's a
funny,
bad
but-
translation.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's supposed to be like damn, like that damn old man, like
Okay.
bastard old man. I think
Okay.
crap is just like a way of them having it be more kid friendly, I guess.
Mm.
Or something, or I don't know what it is. I think that's more of a 90s. People said crap
Okay.
a lot, but it's not like poop. It's not like literally translating to poop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like a modifier, but they're putting crap there.
Yeah.
A mildly profane modifier.
Yeah, and they spend 85 days there.
Right.
It is pretty cool that like he eats his own leg.
Yep.
You know? That's
Yeah.
pretty neat.
This is
Raw. No fire.
Just
They're-
no fire.
they're ramping up a lot of like the bad guy stuff with Krieg being like a real asshole and scumbag, even though he's not as big of a threat as like the others necessarily. And then with this too, like you get Zeff just, amputating his own leg with a blunt rock is fucked up. And in the actual anime, that doesn't happen. He cuts off his leg because it gets like pinned under a rock when he's in the ocean.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
he doesn't eat his own leg.
Well, what's
And-
he eat over those 85 days? He's going to starve.
Good question.
He
gotta
had
have a
like
leg to
little
eat.
bit of food or something, but I
Yeah.
less food, I guess. But then also they're only stuck for like 40 days in the in the
I think they
anime.
accounted for the
Yeah, they were
realism.
like, oh shit, he wouldn't be able to survive 80 days without if he didn't have a leg to eat. But
Maybe that was a thing of like, that's a little too much for the
Too
kids.
real. Yeah.
It is,
who'd
it
have
is very
thunk
real. It
that
happens a lot.
those two? Who'd have thunk that those two who fight like cats and dogs had such a bond? Is what Carne says.
Yep.
We had
Pearl
Yeah.
tries to insert himself again, and Luffy destroys the big platform that was sort of like a table that you like extend the wings on. They came out from under the ship, but he destroys it, and I think that's it for Pearl here. And Luffy's like, I'm gonna sink the ship.
Yeah.
He's like, you guys are like obsessed with the ship. You're gonna die for the ship. If I sink it, they have no prize. Getting killed is no way to repay your debt. He didn't save your life, so you could throw it away.
Yep. And we get actually what was my favorite panel in all of this at the beginning of chapter 60 here with the kind of hostage situation that was going on. Jin says, I didn't want things to work out this way, and I thought I would just kill you, and that would be the best way to get through this. And we get a panel of Sanji saying, why thank you, and he's lighting a cigarette, and he says, no, kindly eat shit and die.
Oh wow! It says eat
Which-
worms in my translation.
It just says eat worms.
yeah, that's what mine says too.
I think that's the official. Yeah.
If it said now kindly eat worms and die, I would still like it. But I really like no kindly eat shit and die. It's pretty cold. It's good. Yeah, shows you what kind of guy he is. Eat worms is not bad though, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Don Krieg fight. It's not
yeah. Is there
There's
much
some
to say about?
cool stuff. Like he's got like a bunch of weapons on him. So he's like a shield that shoots missiles and shuriken and gas bombs. But this is where I was like, okay, we have the broken pieces of this like platform that are connected by the big mast. And so they're both standing on opposite sides. And, it's fine, but there's not a whole lot of meat here. Sanji and Jin have their fight, which I was a little more interested in.
Yeah, and that's a bit better. Krieg commits a war crime. He shoots poison gas
That's
at them,
true, yeah.
and they have to there's a thing that comes up here where they have to have mass to protect each other. There's a One Piece character popularity poll. I'm sorry, this is like an aside, but I can't ignore it. I disagreed strongly with this list, although I guess Luffy is number one. Makes a lot of sense. But the guy Choo Choo wasn't on here at all.
Yeah, what the hell?
I think maybe he wasn't eligible for voting. But
Well,
Rabbit,
fuck.
Snake, and Pig Lion are on here.
Yeah. Django was at 19th place. Get out of here. Why
Yeah.
is Captain Kuro at number 9? Shushu was robbed.
Yeah. It's nonsense.
Shanks is number 3 is also wild to me. Like
That's
Yeah.
bizarre.
he was in like one chapter.
Who the
Anyway,
hell is
that's
Ben Beckman?
I
miss
didn't
this
remember him
guy?
at all.
That's one of Shanks' crew, and Oda talks about him in one of the SBSs. He says he's like the smartest man. Maybe that got a lot of goodwill among the
A
readership.
lot of people like that.
Yeah, but
They
liking him
respected his
over
intelligence.
Buggy is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nami
And
at
over
number
Usopp.
5. Okay. I know. It's just, yeah.
Queen at number 10. Damn.
Yeah. It's some wild. It's
Number
So you-
35, Captain of the Naval Base.
it's
Yeah.
nonsense.
Can we talk about this chapter spread for 61?
Yeah, they're on the farm. They're farming with the squid.
What do you notice about Luffy?
He's ripped. He's he's been dehydrating himself before
He is-
this. He was shirtless and down
It's
doing
only
push-ups.
It's only his chest, though. So he
It's-
has a six-pack. He's very defined biceps, but then his arms and legs are just like a child's.
It's pretty unnerving. It's like those. Remember those ads that would be like at the bottom of websites before, and it'd be like the buff little kid or something. It'd be
Yeah.
like, or like
Yeah.
it was like, and like the buff grandpa.
Yeah,
things
it'd be
that, and
like
you'd be like,
13 vegetables you need to eat. And it would be
Yeah.
a picture of Luffy with the
yeah, it'd be him on the farm here
chiseled
with this.
chest. Yeah.
This looks pretty nice though. I'd hang out on this farm. Maybe.
The
No, I
giant
wouldn't.
squid with the tribal
giant
tattoos.
Squid, yeah.
That's
The
crazy.
squid does have tribal tattoos.
He's a bad boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
what do
art's really good in
we-
this fight.
Yes. I was going to say these like dumbbells that Jin is using are like,
They're
I
like
don't know what they are,
nightsticks
really.
with fucking orbs at
Yeah.
the end.
They're
Yeah.
like a very good thing to just keep drawing. I feel like they add a lot of motion to the fight, or else, it's smart because Sanji is kick focused. So if it's just two guys going at each other with no weapons involved, it wouldn't be as dynamic. So he gives him these, nightsticks with a huge ball
Bowling
on
balls.
the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives some good stuff like this one where
Yeah.
Sanji's like doing a cartwheel out of the way and he slams him into the deck and
Yeah.
it's, wood cracking and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really great panels throughout this. Like on 155, there's this great one where, they kind of run at each other and then they're both like flying away from each other and there's just this spray of blood in the air.
Yeah.
And it's, it's good stuff. Like it's great motion to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we learned that Jin was a merciless killer who brutally slaughtered his
demon
enemies.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knew? Who
No.
knew?
Krieg keeps shooting like stakes from his shield gun thing. So Luffy is getting pretty fucked up in this fight, like stabbed with wooden stakes, and then he punches like a shield that's covered in metal spikes. Like the beats are fine, but I think the Jin moment where he's like, I can't kill this guy because he was nice to me. And you start to see this during the fight because he's like pulling his punches a little bit, or he's intentionally missing Sanji. But because Sanji is so wounded, like every impact that he's landing is like hurting him too. So like it can't go on forever, basically. But Don Krieg is going to destroy Jin and everyone else with his M5 fucking deadly poison
MH5,
gas
yeah.
bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody gets their gas masks out, which they obviously have on them for this purpose.
I didn't even know, chemical warfare was a big part of the pirate life. But who doesn't get a mask here? There's a mask.
So
Jin.
Luffy doesn't
Luffy-
have one, but Jin, you see him sort of in several panels just staring at his mask, sort of not putting it on. And then Sanji throws he throws it in the water and he's like, I deserve to die. And then there's a panel of a really good panel of Luffy freaking the fuck out because he can't go underwater and he doesn't have a mask. And then a mask just lands next to him.
That panel is so good. Yeah.
And then
it's like
Krieg
the
says,
screen
this is
for kids.
military might. It is, yeah. This is military might. Luffy puts on the mask, and then we see that Jin has forced a mask onto Sanji's face, and he's taken the full brunt of the poison gas.
He's coughing blood. He's not doing well.
He's fucked up, yeah.
So this is the culmination, right? It's all come together here.
Mm-hmm.
Jin is giving his life. He realized this is Krieg is no good.
Yeah.
Luffy's screaming Krieg. So
He's
this
pissed.
is like, this is the shonen ecstasy moment, right? This is he's gathered his force.
Yeah.
I don't know how much there is to say about that. Like, it's kind of the thing we were talking about before. It's like all the backstory stuff has kind of come together here.
Yeah.
And it is pretty, like, in terms of keeping the pace of this thing moving, it is pretty, like, elegantly done.
Yeah.
These different threads pulling together. And Luffy punching the spiky shield is pretty gnarly too. It's pretty cool.
Krieg's cape like erupts with metal spikes, and then Luffy goes through the gum bullet, and that panel of him punching Krieg in the face through the cape is really good.
Yeah.
And he's gotten hit with a bunch of these wooden stakes, so you really get the sense that he's like fucked up. The panel of him holding up the bloody stake, also very good. Because you can see his fist is full of holes, which is really nasty.
It's a good reminder here that Luffy's a real deal. He may joke around, but look at him covered in blood. He's going for it. He's a real one.
But he has to keep beating up Don Krieg. It keeps going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which
of course he gets up, and then the whole time like Zeff is going. Zeff's like, this kid's got grit. And it's like we know Luffy is just, his thing is that he'll keep fighting, man, like till the very end, which I mean Zoro kind of just did the same thing, like but Luffy's whole thing is that he'll outlast you, like you might pull out some crazy shit, but he's just gonna keep coming at you till he's done. And that's what happens. He ultimately beats Krieg, as we could all expect. He does some cool kicks. He calls him a caterpillar. He avoids the spear, and then he breaks it, and then he gets his ass exploded, and then he comes back up either way, and then he punches Krieg. There's no give in him.
No. In one of these SBS, there's a question. Since Luffy is a rubber man, do all of his body parts stretch? The answer is yes, everything stretches.
Yep.
Okay.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Just got a stretchy cock. That's I don't know. It is kind of funny how like irreverent he can be about these characters. He's just like, these are Nami's measurements.
Oh my god.
This is so dumb.
I don't co-sign that one. He also, it says like, those are my measurements, and then like, it's not like they're going to change, right? Which
foreshadowing.
We all know that they do. So what? He was already thinking about that.
This is his version of like, advanced plotting.
Yeah.
This is like metatextual foreshadowing here.
Oh, the panel where Luffy does the gum bullet, which is just another punch, but it's to Krieg's midsection in the armor, is fucking crazy. Like, it looks like it's about to explode, but it's just like the still frame of Don Krieg. It's crazy.
It is kind of interesting. Like if Oda was the kind of guy who wanted to give you sort of like, here's 3 chapters of just fight, nonstop fight. I think it would get exhausting. But he's kind of good at being like, even when it is basically just all fighting, of being like another, the spacing out of the talking and makes it hit harder. It's good. Guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And the fights are like, this one goes on for a while, but it's like there's phases, there's like beats and stuff. It's not like they're just hitting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of it for this. They triumph. Sanji saves Luffy from drowning. Krieg yells a lot, and then he just gets socked in the gut by Jin, who's like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And Sanji says, please don't come again.
They all stack on the boat, Sanji's escape boat, and it's like just a pile of fucking carcasses and debris. It's like, we'll sink. They're freaking out. We'll sink. I mean, I would be concerned about that if I was them too. But Jin gets like a cute send off as well here. Like he's chill with Sanji again because they get each other. Just the bros getting each other once again, like with Mihawk and Zoro. A lot of the fight, like it does feel like when Luffy said he was going to sink the ship, like I feel like Nami would have definitely had something to say about that one. Like, that doesn't make sense as a strategy, but it just goes unaddressed because because Nami's not there. But yeah, this is where the wrap up happens. We get to, again, the emotional core happening at the climax of the arc. And we find out, Sanji, he decides to stay on the Baratie.
Yep. This is good. This is bros stuff. Also, he and Luffy they're bound for life at this point, right?
This is the bit that I was poorly trying to explain earlier, where Sanji makes everyone food and they're like, this tastes like shit, man.
Yeah.
And they're like ragging on him. They're like, you phony sous chef, you're a hack. Who made this crap awful muck. And then, of course, the soup is amazing. Luffy's like sucking it down, and they're all like, oh yeah, we know. But if we don't do this, he won't listen to us. And Zeff is like, well, you take him with you. He really wants to see the Grand Line. They have to pretend to not give a shit, so he will leave.
There's also on page 95 this really good panel of Sanji saying, ever hear of the all blue? And his face is like, that's just someone who's like, it's such a good face. Like he clearly, that's his treasure, like the thing he cares about, he's passionate about, he lights up. Like, it's just so much emotion and like happiness out of just talking about his dream. And then it cuts to Luffy, saying, no, I don't know what it is. And then it cuts to then Zeff, who's watching the conversation. We don't hear the rest of the conversation. We just see Zeff's perspective of like observing this guy who is basically his son light up, talking about what his dreams are to his friend. And that's when he decides like, I gotta let him go. Like he already did want to let him go, but he knows that it kind of has to happen now. And it's just like a really good, poignant moment to me. And this is just, it's what I'm talking about with the unsaid things that have a lot of weight. And Oda very explicitly acknowledging that here of this, even with the ... ellipse, kind of Zeff in deep thought, like clearly he's thinking about this. And you get these really cool angles of the conversation of like Sanji from below. And I just really like this little sequence of panels here.
Yeah.
It is really good. There's, and I don't know how much this comes up as it goes along too, but you get like a hint of more of the generational stuff being underscored here too, where, it's kind of like sending him on his way to go and pursue his thing. Even though his like sense of duty and everything has been informed by how he was brought up, sometimes he had to, there's a panel later down here where, he just swings on him, punches him out. Sometimes you got to do that to your son, is just knock him to the ground so that he'll understand that, he needs to go. But yeah, that stuff's done well, and yeah, great panels as well with Luffy eating food, watching as the fight goes on in the kitchen. He's looking very intently, but he's just like chew kind of noises, and his cheeks all big. It's good. It's good stuff. So I think there's also, like we said, like this kind of ends with, and then we have Luffy, same kind of thing with his theme. He's like, no, I'm not going to take Sanji with me. It's not, I don't want anyone coming along who's not here to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh Christ, I forgot about this too. And then a panda shark with Zoro's two friends comes flying up onto and they said they couldn't catch up with Nami. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're gonna go, and Sanji's like, now I am gonna go. I'll accompany you your way. We have crazy dreams together. So we're gonna accomplish them together. And then, it turns out the soup was delicious. We just had to say that to you. Yeah. And we get a thing also too that Sanji started smoking when he was like 10 or something. Yeah. Because he wanted to be grown up.
Yep.
Yeah, he wanted to be a real guy.
And then there's the big crying panel of Sanji saying, goodbye, you crap guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
don't catch a cold.
This flashback is used to like heighten the emotional resonance of the emotional beat that's happening now of Sanji leaving.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like it's like Oda using the like shonen ecstasy setup to make the goodbye hit harder. Which I think is something really cool about One Piece as well, is that like he uses these shonen devices to have the emotional weight of just the in-between scenes hit harder. And this is when we get the climactic, the sad goodbye, kind of Sanji walking off, and Zeff says, keep your feet dry. It's just like a kind of goodbye thing that Zeff says, and then Sanji just can't hold it anymore. You see his lips start to wobble, his tear starts to come out, and then he gives him thank you. He kneels down, puts his head to the ground and says, I owe you my life, I'll never forget you. And then everyone starts crying. This big, the manly arc of all these guys just fighting for no reason.
Yeah.
And it all ends in them crying, saying how much they love each other and they're going to miss each other, and letting out all the emotion that they've been holding onto for this entire time. So I think there's a lot of stuff here with Sanji and his concept of like what it means to be a man. Because like when he first gets on the ship, he's like this bright-eyed kid who he has no real concept. We don't really know who he is or where he comes from, but his ship has been taken over by this pirate and he has to like defend himself. So he's grown up in a hard way, like he's been through some shit clearly, and everything he does feels like kind of defense mechanisms, from the way he like hides his true feelings to the way he fights, to the way he talks to his dad, to the way he, everything in his life, the way he treats women is like all a result of this. But you can kind of see that like underneath it all, the setup of what Oda's trying to make us see is that he's a good guy. He's a caring and very like gentle guy, even more so than like Usopp and like Nami, the quote normal people of One Piece so far. Sanji is like, he's really uncommonly caring because he had a rough childhood. So I think he's a great character here, and I think that this happens to be a thing that Oda comes back to a lot, is Sanji and masculinity, and like how his like internal character is at odds with what it means to be a man, I think.
Well, yeah, and the like even this thing with all of them saying goodbye and they all start crying and they're all calling each other basically like assholes and stuff. They're like, I'm gonna miss you, you piece of shit, like as they're sobbing and like, I love you so much, dickhead. Like, but it's this thing of it is like a good understanding. And also the thing here is too, even though Zeff is like this crusty old peg-legged pirate guy, he also has this ethos of like, you got to look out for people, and Sanji's like better at that even than he is. Well, I don't know. Sanji didn't eat his own leg. But yeah, and I think there's also like an apt sort of like understated thing too of Sanji being like, from the first time you see him, it's like he's a little kid and he's surrounded by all these grown-ups, and then he's like, I'm gonna kill these pirates with my chef knives, and he goes through some shit, and then he like comes back and he's learned things, but he's also like, I'm gonna learn how to smoke cigarettes now so I can be like cool and old, you know. He's like trying to grow up quickly. And yeah, and it's like seeing this stuff too, where he's like hitting on women and everything, and he's like wearing his suit, and he's just this thing of like, you get this picture of this kid who is like trying to grow up quickly, trying to establish. And I guess he's supposed to be 19, you know. He's like trying to be an adult. I don't know. I think a lot about like how telling this kind of story like in a comic book format, but also like intended for a younger audience and everything too, and how in order for this stuff to function as best it can, like you can't be heavy-handed with dialogue, right? Like you can't slow everything down and have characters talking endlessly. And I do think Oda's good at layering simple things over and over and over until, kind of like how this was like, instead of the cathartic like battle moment at the end of this, there's also the cathartic like emotional release. And it's all like very simple ingredients that are just, you know, layered and layered and layered, and it works.
Yeah. I think it also, that sort of like repetition is a really good way of building our main cast. So like we got it with Usopp, and this is almost a revision of the Usopp stuff to be like the final moments with Usopp and his little crew are very good. But I think everything with Sanji is stronger, and Sanji himself has a better basis as a character. So you expect this sort of like teary goodbye in a very productive way. You're like looking forward to it, I think, and I liked it.
Yeah,
it pays off.
Yeah,
it's
so like.
Go ahead, Reid.
Oh, sorry, Josh. No, I was going to say really quickly, like maybe some of the fatigue with it as well. For me, it's just like it's a lot of characters that have been introduced in this way. This is more effective than, I guess the Zoro one was pretty good, but this was like very effective. But it's just, you know, and I imagine we're kind of coming to the end of piling on new characters because there's like quite a crew at this point. But yeah, just being like, we've done this before, even though it is well done, was maybe the thing that kind of like left me a little cold on this selection of stuff.
That's fair.
It's interesting to me as someone who's read all, or, you know, watched this and kind of coming back to it. It's almost part of it is like reverse engineering these early arcs, because these are the setups for these characters that you do end up spending 1,000 chapters with, right? So all the stuff in these chapters, it's like there's a lot of subtext now that I kind of see, and that I'm trying to see, because it's weird, because what Oda does is he will come back to these themes that he set up early and revisit them. That's one of the things that makes One Piece so compelling over time, is that like he actually he takes these ideas places. So like he doesn't just set this shit up and then leave it, you know. Like a lot of the dynamics that he's setting up here with Sanji, like he revisits all the time. The stuff that he set up with Usopp, he revisits. Same stuff with Zoro. We've already seen the stuff with Zoro be revisited multiple times, with how he treats, you know, death and his philosophy on that, and how that's connected to Kuina. It happens like throughout the show in different ways that kind of make you look at it differently. And I never really read too much into this Baratie arc because, like I said, I kind of don't remember half of it. But I do think that like with Sanji, this masculinity thing, and it gets revisited in the absolute craziest ways in the future. Like I can't even describe to you like the ways that Sanji's like masculinity is like tested, and like the way that we're kind of exposed to masculinity versus Sanji in a way. And it's just crazy to see. But I do feel like here the emotional setup that we're being given, at least like the character friction, whereas, you know, like we said with Usopp, was like being true and faithful and honest versus, you know, being a liar and trying to survive in this hard world. And then Nami is having this defense mechanism of, you know, lying and theft, and Zoro having it be his friction is this conflict with his own fragility as a human being. And with Sanji, I feel like it's manliness for him, where he's raised around a bunch of dudes who are hardened, but at his core is like this soft boy who just wants to care for other people and take care of others. And so he adopts all these things to kind of hide that. And I think like him smoking is clearly one example of that, because, you know, Zeff's telling him not to smoke. And then he's like, I'm a man now because I smoke. And so he's like putting up all these barriers. And I think that's the thing about Sanji is like his whole thing is like, what does it actually mean to be a man? Like, you know, what is at your core? Are you like a soft person? Like, you don't have to put up all these, you know, these weird gender walls. And it seems like it's reading too far into it at this point in the story, because like nothing has really necessitated that, but it is a thing with Sanji's character. And I feel like the crumbs kind of lead all the way back here. When I look at that panel of Sanji like with the cigarette in his mouth saying, now I'm a man, that did not happen in the anime, by the way. That tells me quite a bit. It's like, oh, okay, that's a pretty important panel. But yeah.
Wait, actually, far more like superfluous kind of question, but like, is he ripping darts in the anime too? Like, is that a thing that they can show on?
Yeah,
really?
In the anime, he's smoking.
That's wild.
He's smoking cigs.
That's wild.
But they replaced them with lollipops in the 4Kids version.
Oh, thank Christ.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Huh. I mean, it is one of those things like where I think what's interesting about like any work of anything that goes on for this long, that's serialized for decades, is seeing how the people making it look back at where they've come from, and if they are kind of capable of, not just discarding something, which if like, I don't know, if you wrote it 20 years ago, it might be hard to remember this is what you were thinking of with this character.
Yeah.
But having those things come back in ways that are reinforced and that make use of like the length, right? Like that's what makes, I think, kind of separates the wheat from the chaff with like this like weekly long running kind of stuff.
Yeah. And so now we head to Arlong Park. We get the information that Nami is headed for a, quote, unbelievable place. That's what we get from Johnny and Yosaku, or I guess it's just Yosaku, who gets spit up in the panda shark. The sentient plot devices Johnny and Yosaku. And so we're going to go to Arlong Park next. So
yes,
I've heard those two words together before.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
It's a big one, folks. So to prepare for the next episode, the reading will be basically the rest of Volume 8 and then Volume 9. But if you want to stop on Volume 9 and go watch Episode 34 of the anime, 35, 36, and 37, you'll get the kind of like emotional pinnacle of it there, which I highly suggest. I think the anime is great. Not to say that the manga isn't, because it is, but I'm probably gonna go watch the anime when that part comes. So that's gonna be around, I don't remember when Arlong Park the episodes start being covered in the, like where the crossover is. We'll write it on the show notes, figure out the rest of that. And so if you want to know what to read, or you could just read all of Volume 9 and that'll be it. You don't have to watch the anime, but I highly suggest watching the anime for this this part, because it's great. And it has music and it has voice acting and cool environmental sound effects and stuff. So
it's going to save me so much time from doing all the voices as I read this myself and
is that
playing
what you
the
do?
keyboard with one hand. I play a keyboard with my right hand.
In your head?
Yeah. I do little voices.
Do the Foley work?
I do Foley work, yeah. Yeah. It's really easy. Yeah.
Whistles.
Yeah, I've got like pieces of wood and like cans and stuff hanging from my ceiling. And
little triangle.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
A little triangle. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Any further thoughts before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
I like that restaurant Baratie has the fish head has a Band-Aid on it is one thing I noticed. I like that on its face at the end of this.
Good shit.
They fixed it up. They slapped a Band-Aid on the fish's face. it's good to go now.
And
yeah, that's my final thought.
With that was episode number 4 of the Record of Eastboo podcast. Check me out at real_Joshua on YouTube. Check out Bullet Points, and if anyone else has anything else they want to plug. All right, we will see you.
Bullet Points, yeah.
And we will see you in the next one. Later.
Bye.
Bye.